All right, let's talk about the Babel Fish puzzle from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the 1984 Infocom text adventure classic by Douglas Adams and Steve Maretsky. So, this puzzle is infamous for being difficult. So difficult, in fact, Infocom used to sell a t-shirt that proudly proclaimed the wearer had actually acquired the Babel Fish here in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I want to check this puzzle out. I want to spend a little bit more time with it because I think, while it has the reputation as being this wild moon logic puzzle where no sort of sensible person could ever put together the steps necessary to solve it, I actually don't think it's as bad as its reputation would suggest. So we're going to play around with it a little bit and see what makes this puzzle work and why I actually think it's a good puzzle. So here we go. All right, we are playing Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We have just been beamed up by a matter transference beam into a Vogon ship. If you've read the novel, you know what this part is all about. We are in darkness, which is something that happens a lot here in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy game. We can see nothing, feel nothing, hear nothing, taste nothing, but we can smell. So we're going to do that first. It does smell a bit. There's something pungent being waved under your nose. Your head begins to clear. You can make out a shadow moving in the dark. So we're going to look at shadow. And now we are in a squalid room filled with a grubby mattress, unwashed cups, and unidentifiable bits of smelly alien underwear. A door lies to port, an airlock, and there you see along one wall is a tall dispensing machine. Ford Prefect is here as well. So let's look at dispensing machine. Okay, it's tall. It has a large button around eye level and says Babel Fish. So let's press dispenser button and see what happens. Okay, a single Babel Fish shoots out of the slot. It sails across the room and through a small hole in the wall, just under a metal hook. Oh, you begin to feel distinctly groggy. Eat peanuts. Forgot about that part. There we go. Now we feel a bit better that we've restored some protein. So, the small hole in the wall is just under a metal hook. Let's take a look at our inventory. I'm great at typing. Inventory, you just type I. Okay, oops. So, we're wearing a gown right now. We donned the gown earlier in the game. So let's remove our gown. There was a metal hook hanging there. That's a pretty good clue in terms of what we're supposed to do. So let's hang gown on hook. So if the Babel Fish is shooting across the room and hitting the floor, maybe the gown will block it. So we hang gown on hook. Now we're going to press dispenser button again. A single Babel Fish shoots out of the slot. It sails across the room and hits the dressing gown. The fish slides down the sleeve of the gown and falls to the floor, vanishing through the grating of a hitherto unnoticed drain. So now it slides down a drain. Let's look at drain. You see nothing special about the drain. Let's go back to our inventory. We have no tea. That's always a great inventory item. But we also have a towel. Don't forget your towel. One of the most important things any traveler, any hitchhiker can have. So if we need to stop this from going down the drain, which again seems to be pretty obvious, we only have a few options here in our inventory. No tea isn't going to get us anywhere. The Hitchhiker's Guide, probably not. A towel placed over the drain. The towel completely covers the drain. Now let's see if that solved our problem. Press dispenser button. A single Babel Fish shoots out of the slot. It sails across the room and hits the dressing gown. The fish slides down the sleeve of the gown and falls to the floor, landing on the towel. A split second later, a tiny cleaning robot whizzes across the floor, grabs the fish, and continues its breakneck pace toward a tiny robot panel at the base of the wall. The robot zips through the panel and is gone. Okay, so now we have a robot that is grabbing the Babel Fish. Let's look around again. So there's a satchel here. That's Ford's satchel. Let's get the satchel. We'll open the satchel. You can't. It's not yours. It's Ford's and it's private. Thank you. Good manners are important to solving any puzzle, so I appreciate that. So we can't open the satchel, but what's happening right now is there is a robot who's zipping through the little panel there on the wall. We need a way to either close that panel or block that panel or whatever else. I tried the first time I played this to use the screwdriver, screw panel. Screw you, panel. It doesn't know the word screw. Pocket fluff's probably not going to get us anywhere. Toothbrush. I tried this. Place junk mail in front of panel. Try to block it. Okay, the loose pile of junk mail is seen in front of the tiny robot panel. Let's try it now. Press dispenser button. So we get a very similar message. The robot zips around a loose pile of junk mail through the panel and is gone. And we're also beginning now to get some announcements over the ship's intercom telling us that the Vogons are about to come and seize us from their hold. So we need something bigger than the junk mail. So let's try the satchel. Place satchel in front of panel. Satchel's lying on its side in front of the tiny robot panel. So now that we've got that taken care of, let's press the dispenser button once more. Surely now we will get the Babel Fish. Single Babel Fish shoots out of the slot, sails across the room, etc., toward a tiny robot panel at the base of the wall. The robot plows into the satchel, sending the Babel Fish flying through the air in a graceful arc. A small upper half of the room cleaning robot flies into the room, catches the Babel Fish, which is all the flying junk it can find, and exits. Now there's a nice signpost there. A signpost being something that tells us maybe a hint on how we should go about solving this puzzle. You will notice there that says this upper half of the room cleaning robot. And who doesn't want one of those? It's like a floating Roomba, catches the Babel Fish, which is all the flying junk it can find. So it needs junk in the air. My first instinct was throw junk mail in air. Okay, so it got the junk mail in midair and flashes away. Now, I believe I just soft locked. So what we're going to do is we're going to restore game. So that's not so bad. We're going to wait. We'll just quickly move through all this. Wait, and then we are going to hear, taste, see, feel nothing. We can smell. Look, shadow. Oh, sorry, look at shadow. Okay, so we're getting close now, gang. We're going to remove gown. Place gown on hook. Eat peanuts. Place towel on drain. Get satchel. Oh, wait. He fell asleep. Now we can get satchel. You cannot get satchel. So we have the satchel. Place satchel. Sorry, block. Panel with satchel. Okay, there we go. And now the key is going to be, let's press the dispenser button. It once again says that when the robot plows into the satchel, it sends the Babel Fish flying through the air, but that's all the flying junk it can find. So if we need some junk mail in the air, we're going to place junk mail on satchel. And now we're going to press the dispenser button. And there it is. A single Babel Fish shoots out of the slot. It sails across the room and hits the dressing gown. The fish slides down the sleeve of the gown and falls to the floor, landing on the towel. A split second later, a tiny cleaning robot whizzes across the floor, grabs the fish, and continues its breakneck pace toward a tiny robot panel at the base of the wall. The robot plows into the satchel, sending the Babel Fish flying through the air in a graceful arc surrounded by a cloud of junk mail. Another robot flies in and begins madly collecting the cluttered plume of mail. The Babel Fish continues its flight, landing with a loud squish in your ear. And now that we have a Babel Fish in our ear, we should be able to understand alien languages, and we have solved the Babel Fish puzzle. Now, this is a complex puzzle. There are a lot of steps, there's trial and error, but given the limited number of inventory items and the fact that every time you press that button, it's going to give you a hint on what to do next. And those hints are somewhat well signposted. If you're willing to sit and think through this one, I think it's definitely solvable. It's not as strange as, say, trying to recharge a magic wand with a hunk of moldy cheese in King's Quest V or other moon logic puzzles you might encounter in other video game adventures. So in that sense, I think this is a tough one, but I think it's a fair one. I think that this reputation it has as one of the most difficult puzzles of all time is maybe a little bit overstated. And that's why I actually think the Babel Fish puzzle from Infocom's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is actually one of the best adventure game puzzles of all time. Thanks for watching.